There's a misconception that as Christians we should go out of our way to be super nice to our enemies. And by enemies, I'm talking about people who are rude to us or who cause us a lot of unnecessary trouble. Now, this misconception causes a lot of problems for some Christians because they continue to maintain unhealthy friendships and relationships or connections. And by doing that, they seem weak and appear to be people pleasers. Remember, as a follower of God, you please God. You don't please people. And by constantly putting yourself in the presence of those toxic people who keep on using their toxic words to trouble you or their toxic behavior, you end up getting emotional, mental, and even physical problems. So, what am I suggesting? As always, I suggest that we turn to the Word of God. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 14 tells us that Alexander the coppersmith did me much harm. May the Lord repay him according to his works. End of verse. These are the words of Paul the Apostle. Apparently, there was a coppersmith who troubled him to a great extent. You don't see Paul praying to the Lord that the coppersmith should put aside his differences with Paul and that they should get together and be friends. Instead, you see Paul stating, "May the Lord repay him according to his works." So now what? Stay away from toxic people whenever you can. It doesn't matter if it would seem as if you're trying to ignore them, because being a Christian requires you to love yourself, and loving yourself involves staying away from troublemaking people. You would have seen the line or heard the line, "Do not repay evil with evils," several times. It's a verse that you can find in Proverbs, 1 Peter, Romans, and more. So, what it means is you refuse to do to your enemies what they do to you, and that is showing love. Loving your enemies does not mean that you hug them and give them compliments. Those things are unnecessary. But just choosing to behave like a child of God and a follower of Christ by not doing the evil that your enemies do to you is showing them love. And also remember, there is a way of standing up to yourself, standing up for yourself in an honorable and peaceful way. We will discuss that in another video. Finally, do what Paul does. Ask God to handle them. And remember to pray for yourself. Because when you are constantly around toxic people or people who treat you as if you're the enemy, you will be subject to mental stress, emotional turmoil as well. So pray for yourself. Pray for your mental, emotional, and physical well-being.